You're listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast brought to you by DraftKings, America's #1 sportsbook app. Okay, I'm Mike Luke. Schuster and Brad aren't available, but that means that I've got one of the savants of the Tucson basketball scene, one of the best shooters in the city. Anybody out there that's seen him knows. Mr. John Brogan. Hello, Brogan.
Yeah, how's it going? How's it going, Mike?
All right, guys, we got a lot to get to. A lot of comments already underway, but 81-66 Arizona falls. This was just all the way around a crappy game. I mean, Arizona didn't defend. Arizona didn't score. This was not something that I expected, but I guess sometimes these games do occur.
Yeah, and it always happens on the mountain road trip, it seems like. This was Arizona's first road test. Elevations in play. You're coming off the high of the Maui win. There were a lot of cliches in play that certainly made it look like, okay, this could be a trap game for Arizona for sure.
And that's what happened. Now let's get to it, because if you got games where Courtney Ramey until the end, where Pella, just your perimeter right there, they're not hitting, it's going to be really difficult. But at the same time, like, you got to be able. Utah's not that good. This game shouldn't have got out of hand the way it did, but that's also college basketball.
Yeah. College basketball is interesting like that. And this game, I felt like Arizona got away from what won them their games early in the season. They shot a lot of early threes in this game, which normally we shoot threes, cool, but it's out of the offense. There were a lot of early shot clock threes where normally it's work the ball inside to Bellis, working inside to Ballo, let the threes come off of that. And when you shoot early threes, you don't make them, then you got a tendency to get down early in the game, and Utah's a good rebounding team.
And I've thought all season going in that Arizona's one advantage every single game is, and by the way, is William Anderson, are we officially a football school? That's a great remark right there. I love that. That's funny. But Arizona goes into every game with Oumar Ballo and Azuolas Tubelis, and I've always felt that you need to, especially in games when you're not hitting, you need to be able to get 40 and 20 out of those guys, or at least 35 and 18, something like that. And while Ballo had that in the first half, you could just tell, especially inside, this wasn't going to be a game that Arizona was going to dominate. And when they're at their best, these two guys are causing problems for other teams.
Yeah, and at the end of the game, if you look at Tubelis and Ballo, they're going to end with a pretty good stat line. But if you watch the game, it was a much tougher stat line this game than they had in the Maui Classic. So it was a lot. Utah did a really good job of packing the paint, doubling when the bigs got the ball. They were tipping a lot of passes out of the double team. And they basically just dared Arizona to shoot threes, and Arizona wasn't hitting in the first half, and it became a problem.
And I think also, first of all, I would not want to be – now, I would assume it's Colorado. Arizona's playing on Sunday.
No, because this is the weird non-conference conference game, so we got Cal on Sunday. Actually.
Cal on Sunday, that's right. All right, the game that Mark Fox could be fired on. If I was Mark Fox and Cal, I would not want to be playing Arizona in this game coming up right here. Through about, a sixth of the season right now, watching this team, this just kind of seemed like they reverted. Some of the things that and personally, like, I love what Azuolas Tubelis has done this year, but he looked kind of a step slow right there. Kerr looked out of rhythm. It was kind of like a flashback to some of the worst memories that we've had of them of previous years. Now, again, it's one game, so I'm not sweating it, but this was kind of Arizona at its worst right here.
Yeah, I mean, early in the game, Arizona was missing layups, missing wide open threes, and the game felt weird in a way that 6 minutes into the game, Arizona was down 4, down 6, playing terrible, and you're like, okay, they're going to kick it into gear here, and then this game will be a 10-point game in no time. Next thing you know, Utah's up 15, and you're like, well, okay, it's going to be a long night.
All right, now, again, got to pay the bills right here. Two things. First, oh, geez. The OGs is one of our latest sponsors. Obviously, you can go to any dispensary. You got to be 21 and up to be able to get this, though. When I've gone up to Phoenix, they've given me some of them, the indica infused OGs. They're very, very good. I'm trying to get my dad to take them. He won't, but you know what? It is what it is. Check out the show notes and the description and the link. Also, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. Here's the deal. You could put down $5 on any NBA game, and if you win, you can get $100 in free plays. That simple, that easy. Many people are taking advantage of this gonga deal right here. But again, you got to be 21 and up. Arizona only. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. They'll get you taken care of. If you wanted to bet on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, Brogan, you could have taken Utah Arizona -7 in this game and lost a lot of money, or you could have taken Utah with the 6.5 and won. Did you partake in the DraftKings Sportsbook app? Code word PHNX.
I did, and I'm a homer, so I took Arizona. So, it is what it is. I got the Buffalo Bills as well, getting me back to closer to even. So it should be
all right. Let's talk about it. What is the David Matola is great. He says, "You're trying to sell me weed and gambling." Thanks. That's
this is an adult show. TVMA.
Yes, exactly. All right. Now, what is your biggest concern for Arizona this year? Because we're going to get into the positives. Because again, this is one game. People do need to understand this is still one of the 10 best teams in the country. But what are your concerns for Arizona right now?
My biggest concern is our pick and roll defense. I didn't like it in Maui, and I'm not sure if it's Tommy's philosophy this year or what it is, but in the Creighton game especially, Nembhard was living in the paint, making a bunch of plays with like 8-foot runners and floaters and drop-offs to bigs and things like that. Today it was the same thing. Utah would turn the corner off the high ball screen, get into the paint, and there wasn't much going on. We were sticking to shooters, and then it was like 2-on-2, but a defender's on my back. And Arizona just really couldn't do much with that, but it's now the second time that it's became noticeable. And so I think our pick and roll defense against teams with a really good guard that can get in the paint and a decent big that can finish is going to create problems for us. And then I think what you saw tonight is the team's going to kind of go with Kerr.
Right.
If he's making shots and not even making shots per se, if he's getting in the lane, distributing the ball, getting 7, 8, 9 assists and making a few threes and things like that, they're tough. If he lays an egg and he goes 1 for 7, doesn't make any threes and only has 3 or 4 assists, then it's a tough thing. So I think those are the two things I'm looking for.
And we talked about this all off season where Arizona needed to be able to get to the point where, especially with Kerr, where make 40% of your shots, be steady. But in Maui, we saw a Kerr Kriisa that was taking over games, that was getting into the lane, that was dishing it out. This wasn't that. And again, he's shown in Maui that he's more than capable of it. It's getting that consistency because, again, I don't need you to go, 7 of 10 from 3-point range, but I need you to be able to control in the game in a manner that really didn't happen tonight.
Right. And tonight was the first time, well, there was a half of, I think, the San Diego State game where he took a lot of bad shots. This game, he seemed to be forcing the action a little bit. And so, to your point, he's just got to be more consistent. Stay within the game, play within the flow. He's going to get plenty of shots. His job's more distributor, facilitator, hit an open 3, make a big shot when we need it. But yeah, he's got to get more consistent for sure.
Henri Veesaar makes a very good point here. He says, is it time to be concerned about Pella and Ballo not taking the next step? I'm going to speak on Oumar Ballo. I'll let you speak on Pelle Larsson because I have absolutely no credibility when it comes to Pelle Larsson. So again, my bad, Pella. But with Oumar Ballo, it's going to just take – I like Oumar Ballo still. I know a lot of people are out on him. He, to me, is a guy that needs a redshirt year in that you watch him. He's about 6'5", 6'6". He's a long guy. The shot is better than it's shown right now. He's certainly got to tighten up the handle. I just think that he just needs time, to be honest with you. You got to remember, too, he's only 18 years old. This is a guy that came in as a 17-year-old. So that's what I would do with Ball. I'm still a fan, but I think that he needs just some time to work on his craft. Now, Pelle Larsson, where are you at with Pella?
So I think it depends on what you expect Pella to be. When we came into the season, nobody expected him to be the team's leading scorer, right? So expecting him to come out and score 20 points a game, I think that's our fault if that's what we're doing with him.
Right.
He's the most versatile defender on the team. You saw him guarding Carlson tonight all the way down to guarding point guards. He can guard across the board. He led the team in rebounding tonight. The thing that he has to be able to do, though, is he has to at least be a threat on offense. He can't score 2 points like he did tonight. Well, you and I can disagree about how good he is all day long, but he has to.
We won't show our text messages,
right? He has to be 7 to 10 points a game consistently because he's good enough to be able to do that. He's not Draymond Green where you get 2 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, right? He's got to be that 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists guy and be the team's most versatile defender. Then he's helping. But if he plays like he did tonight, then he's not really necessarily contributing in a positive manner outside of rebounding. That's kind of tough for Arizona to make up, especially when Kerr and Ramey have off nights. You need someone like him to be able to step up.
One guy that has flashed a little bit, and he's been beat up a lot, but I'm going to give him some credit because, again, it wasn't a great game. Henri Veesaar is going, and Anthony Humbert, this is right at you out here. Henry's going to have some games where Henry's shown flashes now where you can see that he can finish around the hoop, where he can block some shots, get some rebounds. Henry's going to be a player. It might not be as quick as some of us want, but he's going to be a player, Brogan.
Yeah, here's what I like about him is defensively, he'll mix it up. He's not afraid to foul. He's not afraid to try to block every shot that's out there, and he's not just going to give up easy buckets. So if you're my big off the bench and that's what you give me, I'm good right there. Now, we've heard how good of a perimeter shooter he is. If he gets to the point where he can consistently knock down a 3 in a game and he gets a little stronger throughout the season, a little more confident in the post, then I think you're going to see some 12-7, 14-8 type of games off the bench where he'll be a major contributor to Arizona beating some good teams down the stretch.
All right, let me tell you about Mountain Mike's Pizza. I made the mistake of not eating Mountain Mike's Pizza during the game today. I ate something else, and you know what? It's not digesting. Well, Mountain Mike's Pizza probably knows that I cheated on them. So again, check it out. Mountain Mike's Pizza, Oracle and Wetmore. And you can check them out at the Tap and Bottle watch parties downtown where everybody goes. John Brogan has not been down there. My sister has not been down there, but my parents have been down there. Many other people, Matt Muehlbach, our good friend, has been. But check out Mountain Mike's Pizza on Oracle and Wetmore and the Tap and Bottle watch parties, which will be starting back up here this month. But again, really, Scott and Rebecca do a great job down there. And you can get some Four Peaks. So again, the Four Peaks. Now, what are the Four Peaks, John Brogan? When you think Four Peaks, what do you think of?
Not Arizona's front line.
You think of Arizona's four big men, the Four Peaks. All right.
Far, only 3 of them have played, so it's 3.5 peaks as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Here's what David Matola says. After smoking the weed and drinking the Four Peaks, you need to eat some pizza and make some bets. Dude, I'm all about that right there. Again, he's our hype man. We like it. All right. Anthony Humbert, he says, I'll believe it when I see it, and I'll give you a my bad Henry. I'm telling you, though, it's going to come. It's going to come at some point. All right. Now, Sean, excuse me. Was this a one-off game? Utah played like the best team in the pack and always drops a game in Colorado or Utah. I think that's the case. I really do. If this was on a neutral court tomorrow, I think Arizona wins that game by 15 or 15. Well, maybe not that many, but 10, 12 points. I think this was kind of a one-off game because they haven't shown me anything to indicate that it isn't.
Arizona is much closer to the team that beat Creighton that just took Texas to the wire, who's number 2 in the country. They're much closer to that team that you saw in Maui than they are to this Utah team. Again, elevation, first true road game. It's not an easy place to play. Oregon goes to Colorado and lost like 157 games straight there. Arizona usually struggles in one of those 2 games on the mountain trip. It's just a weird place to play. And so for it being Arizona's first true road game, I can easily forget this one. We're going to beat California by 65 points probably, and everything will be back in line the way it's.
All right, describe that for me a little bit as a de facto Utah native, even though you're from New York, or in Arizona though. What is different about playing hooping in Utah?
It's just the altitude. The air's thin, and so you can be in the best shape of your life, and when you sprint up and down the court 2 times, you feel yourself huffing and puffing and gasping for breath. And you can't quite figure out what's going on unless you train in it full time. It's just a different experience. And it's not like you're going to see guys bent over, grabbing their shorts, but you see layups a hair short. You see jumpers a hair short. You see missed free throws. You start to see little things creep up because you're just not used to that difference. It's a hard thing. And when they go on the Mountain West road trip and you got to do it twice in the span of 2 or 3 days, that's when you usually see Arizona dropping one of those games later in the season. hopefully for us, they got it out in this non-conference conference game, whatever it is, and then they can win the next two. But yeah, I'm with you. Arizona's gonna rebound big on Sunday, though.
Let's talk about the rest of the conference here, because you know what? We try to be realistic, but we try to be optimistic realists. Okay. Yeah. Arizona's still winning this conference, everybody. I know they're 0-1. You can look at it and they're technically in last place. Arizona's still winning this conference because, quite frankly, UCLA, even though they're decent, no doubt about it, they don't match up well with Arizona at all. That's a terrible matchup. In a weird way, you could make the point that Utah matches up better with Arizona, even though they're not better than UCLA. Arizona, I think, is just too big for UCLA. Oregon right now, I think they'll get it together, but they're kind of a mess. We'll be watching it after this game. But those are really the only two teams that I look at, and I know that Utah won this game, but I don't consider them a contender. Arizona's still winning this conference. And Low Tone Capone, I know you're an ASU fan, but you know what? You're not winning the conference here. Have fun with Dilly. All right, but go back with what do you think on that, Brogan?
Yeah, this is a weird one because I think UCLA is the best team in the conference, but to your point, they're a terrible matchup for Arizona because they're way too small. Ballo and Tubelis are going to score probably 45 or 50 points in that game, and similar to what you saw in Tucson last year where we dominated the paint. So I do think Arizona wins the conference. Oregon's intriguing late in the year once they kind of figure out something on offense.
They're the only team with the front line that
the size.
I don't want to. Yeah, the size. Well put. Yeah. The size for sure.
And then USC is intriguing because they've got a lot of talent. I don't think USC can be consistent enough to win, but I think USC is pretty clearly third or fourth. Oregon third or fourth. Like those two teams will battle out for third or fourth. Everybody else, though, I think is a half a step to a full step behind Arizona and UCLA.
And that's kind of the way that it is around college basketball when you look at it, because I mean there really isn't. There's about 10 to 12 teams that I think can win it all, but any team is prone. Any team is susceptible to having this kind of performance right here. And again, Utah, to their credit, doesn't suck. I thought before the year Utah sucked. They don't suck. They're not great, but they're better. If they were to be the fourth best team in the conference, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. And so it's not. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what would you rather be right now? Arizona, who was preseason 20th, whatever, 17, whatever they were, beat a couple ranked teams, win the Maui Classic, and get all the way up to fourth? Or would you rather be North Carolina, preseason number 1, and you lose 3 straight, and you're coming off 3 straight losses?
Right.
I'll take Arizona's situation, even with the stinker at Utah, than being like North Carolina, for instance.
And you got to keep in mind, too, coming into this year, I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be somewhat of a bridge year. At least I did. I thought that Arizona was a top 15 to 20 team. Next year, Arizona is absolutely loaded for bear. See what I did there? Very good. Bear down. But this year I thought was going to be kind of that bridge, that gap year. And that really wasn't they're much better than I thought they were going to be. And I think they're probably much better than anybody thought. So if you look at it, you just kind of say to yourself, all right, it's a one-off game, not the worst thing in the world. Now, again, if they struggle against California, then we'll be having a different talk here. And by the way, Dirty Dancer put it right. Houston is the best team in the country. I should lead with that. But Brogan, thoughts? Go.
Yeah, Houston they just play a dirty, nasty style that just wrecks whatever you want to do, and they're good enough offensively. Texas is the team that intrigues me a ton. They're the most athletic team in the country. They got like 4 or 5 guys that are 6'10" that can run up down the floor. They've got Marcus Carr, who's been in college for like 100 years.
Timmy Allen, who's also been in college for 100 years.
Right. And so I think it's Texas and Houston are the 2 clear best teams in the country right now. Texas has Chris Beard, which is a big step up from Rick Barnes. And so those are the 2 clear best. But Gonzaga and North Carolina were 1-2 preseason to start the year. Duke was ranked really high to start the year. They've all lost multiple games. This is the year where a surprise team probably wins the national title. And you're like, I didn't think they could win at the beginning of the year, but in the end, that's who wins. This year is going to be as much parity, I think, as you've seen in a long time.
I didn't see before the season. I thought there were clearly teams that had more talent than Arizona, or at least that Arizona would go into. And there are a few teams where Arizona is a decided underdog. And again, not trying to blow smoke here. It was a terrible performance here by the U of A today. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But if you are still looking big picture, this is one of the 10 best teams in the country. I want to bring up Purdue. Chef Duarte Purdue looks good. Purdue and Arizona is all kinds of fascinating matchups right there. First of all, Edey and Ballo, just to start off with, is something that would be very enticing to watch.
Yeah, Purdue's good. In the tournament, though,
what conference are they in? What conference are they in? We always warn people about this.
The Big Ten, that's true.
Big Ten hoops never does anything. Go ahead.
And in the tournament, guard play usually dominates the tournament. We saw that last year with North Carolina's run. Their two guards got hot and took them all the way to the title game. And so Purdue's guards worry me. They've got the best front court in the country. No, I mean, I think between Edey and First and who they got coming off the bench, I think it's better than Arizona. I think Arizona, it's a good matchup, but I would take their front court over Arizona's. But I don't trust their guards enough for them to go really deep in the tournament. And then you add in the Big Ten factor, which is they typically seem to underachieve as a conference in the tournament. I like Purdue, but I don't. Purdue's one of those 10 teams that they're a top 10 team. They could win it, but I'm not picking them to go super deep in the tournament just because I don't trust their guards.
I agree with that. All right, we got a couple new we got a new endorser here. Illegal Pete's Illegal Pete's on University. I spent when I was at the U of A, I spent my fair share of time at Illegal Pete's. Good pizza, good drinks, good fun. Check it out. It's on University. Always a spirited environment to go watch a game after you watch the game at the Tap and Bottle watch parties. So again, check it out. Illegal Pete's and the Four Peaks. Four Peaks Brewery in Tempe. Now, the term Four Peaks is taken off with the 4 U of A big men. Everybody's calling it that, and John Brogan will not call it that. Is this correct?
It's true.
Okay, but people are asking, where's the fourth peak? Dylan Anderson. I'm going to get to Dylan Anderson here in just a second. But again, check it out, Tempe location or the Tap and Bottle watch parties where they have Four Peaks down there as well. Check it out. Are we looking at basically a 7-man rotation right now?
Yes. And, maybe it's 7.5 because I don't think you get killed with Boswell in the game. Ball was supposed to be able to come off the bench and be able to hit some threes. If he's not making threes, then he can't really contribute. He was supposed to be one of the major bench players, especially scoring. I don't mind Boswell getting spot minutes at the point, but yeah, it's Henderson for sure, who's basically your 6th starter. And then it's Veesaar, who is a serviceable big, who's going to get better as the year goes on. I think Tommy's going to continue to play 9 until we get into conference season. I think half the conference games he can play 9, but I think when it's crunch time and it's UCLA and it's Oregon USC, I think you're going to see a really tight 7-man rotation, assuming foul trouble doesn't get him. Okay, now I do want to say this, and Sean, appreciate the kind word. Love your guys' feedback. Does this performance by the Cats worry a little bit before the matchup with the Hoosiers, who are playing lights out? I actually think that this is it's never a good thing to lose. I'm not going to say that, but Arizona was crushing people. I mean, when you look at Maui, yes, I know they beat Creighton by 2, but that game was a 15 to 17 point game for a good percentage of the second half. San Diego State, they did the same exact thing too. A loss like this will certainly get your attention if you didn't already need it going into a game against Indiana. Yeah, and I'm not sure if the Indiana game worries me. Obviously, Tracy Jackson Davis worries me a lot because he's one of the best players in the country. He's too mobile for Ballo, and he's just too good for Tubelis to guard him. So he's going to be a matchup nightmare. They've got really good guards.
Wait a second. Are you saying that the Peaks are going to have a really good defensive performance?
Yeah, at least 2 of them. Their guards are going to be more athletic than Arizona's guards. But I really think Arizona is going to be able to score in the paint. I think they're going to have a really tough time with Tubelis. And then if we can make shots, then I think that game is a pretty smooth. I agree with that.
I totally agree. Now let's talk Tennessee, because that's going to be your other really big out-of-conference matchup. I'm very much looking forward to Tennessee just because of what happened last year. You got to remember to set the pace. Arizona goes in there, they're cruising, and let's just be honest here. Tennessee's guards kind of punked Arizona. I mean, I think Kerr had 5 turnovers in the first 7 minutes or something like that. I think Tennessee's going to be a real test from a physicality perspective to just see where Arizona is at this stage.
Yeah. If this game were at Tennessee again, which I know it wouldn't be, if it were, then I would be a lot more concerned because, again, it's a long travel, hostile environment. At McHale, though, I think the game in Vegas with Indiana is going to be a pretty good game. I think Arizona wins by 6, 8, 10 points. I think they'll pull away at the end. I think the Tennessee game's got a chance to get ugly, and they could blow Tennessee out because it's at home. And Tennessee struggles to score. And that's a bad thing when you play Arizona, especially at home.
Right. All right. We need to make fun of ASU on this show because it's fun making fun of ASU. First of all, their basketball program or their basketball team is better than I thought, although they generally fizzle out come January, February. This Marcus Bagley situation, though, is one of the oddest situations that I've seen in sports. Now, you got to remember, Marvin Bagley's little brother, top 25, 30 prospect out of high school, looks like a first-round pick after his freshman year. Dad brings him back for his sophomore year at ASU. He doesn't really play much. This year, he's not playing. He gets into a huge shouting match with Bobby Hurley. He goes on social media. What's going on at ASU, and have we seen the last of Marcus Bagley in college? Not that we ever saw much of him.
Yeah, this has been interesting because after his freshman season, he was projected to be a first-round pick on a lot of boards before he got hurt. I don't know, man. This situation's bizarre because everybody assumed he was injured. And then it turns out he's not injured. He was just closed door suspended, I guess.
Michelle Gardner came at me for saying that he wasn't injured. Michelle's still waiting for that apology.
It's not coming either.
Correct.
Yeah, I can't see a scenario where Bobby Hurley has Marcus Bagley playing at Arizona State. I could see a scenario where he transfers and maybe plays next year somewhere. I could also see the easier example is he just turns pro and either somehow gets into a summer league team and latches on, or he's overseas. But I don't see him playing again. Again, this is bizarre because he gets suspended and then he goes on social media to talk about it. Then he gets resuspended or suspended longer. Suspended. I don't know. So anyways, I think he's done at ASU though, for sure.
And what people need to realize, the reason I brought up Marcus Bagley is I think a lot of people roll their eyes when Tommy Lloyd talks about how roster continuity, roster fit matters more to him than about anything. And you can just see that with this team. Again, Arizona didn't play well today, obviously, but there's nobody that you look at on this team and you say, what's his agenda? What's his agenda? There are no Marcus Williams. There are no Chris Rogers on this team. And I don't think there's really going to be those with Tommy Lloyd. And again, he's going to pass up a guy like a Marcus Bagley. Not that, Bagley was going to come here, because he doesn't believe that the talent outweighs the chemistry that this squad has. And that's going to be a hallmark of what Tommy Lloyd wants to do.
Well, and I think if you look at the results, you have to trust that implicitly. 25 of their 43 games, they shot 50% or better. And that was a team last year that had a ton of question marks. You lose 3 players to the NBA draft. Now you got a team with a bunch of question marks. He missed in the transfer portal, we thought. Then he gets 2 late transfers who just happen to kind of fit perfectly. And again, they're out early, top 5 in the country. So I think at this point, you have to kind of just maybe Tommy Lloyd's a lot better coach than we know he's going to end up being today. Like in 5 years, when we look back, we'll be like, okay, yeah, he was really the dude. And so maybe that's just what he is, and he's always going to be able to make the talent work because he's got a keen sense for, one, identifying it, but seeing how the pieces fit is going to be his real strong suit.
All right, everybody out there, really appreciate all of you guys. A little bit of a shorter post game today. We will be back with you Sunday. Again, appreciate all the comments. John Brogan, you are the man. As I used to work for John Brogan, so I am forever indebted to John Brogan. Brogan, you're the man. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's fun.
All right, for John Brogan, I'm Mike Luke. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.